Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to my reading journey. Hope you're all doing fine, and today we're gonna finish the hypothesis of failure. It's gonna be the final part, and it's gonna be spicy. So, let's do this. Retain your seat for a few minutes, please, said Lord Gooch, arising and again consulting his watch. I have another client waiting in an adjoining room, whom I had very nearly forgotten. I will return in a briefest possible space. The situation was now one that fully satisfied Lord Gooch's love of intricacy and complication. Her reveled in cases that pretended such stable problems and possibilities. It pleased him to think that he was master of the happiness and fate of these three individuals who sat unconscious of one another's presence within his reach. His old figure of the ship glided into his mind, but now the figure failed, for to have filled every compartment of an actual vessel would have been to endanger her safety, while here, with his compartments full, his ship of affairs could be sail on the advantageous port of a fine fat fee. The thing for him to do, of course, was to ring the best bargain he could for some of the anxious cargo. First, he called to the office boy, lock the outer door, Archibald, and admit no one. Then he moved with long, silent strides into the room with which client number one waited. That gentleman sat patiently scanning the pictures in the magazine with a cigar in his mouth and his feet upon a table. Well, he remarked cheerfully, as the lawyer entered, have you made up your mind? Does $500 go for getting the fair lady a divorce? You mean that as a retainer? Asked Lawyer Gooch softly, interrogative. Hey, no, for the whole job. Isn't enough, ain't it? My fee, said Lord Gooch, would be $1,500. $500 down, and the remainder upon issuance. My fee, said Lord Gooch, would be $1,500. $500 down, and the remainder upon issuance of the divorce. A loud whistle came from the client number one. His feet descended to the floor. Guess we can't close the deal, he said, arising. I clinked up $500 in a little real estate dicker down in Susanville. I'd do anything I could to free the lady, but it outsize my pile. Could you stand $1,000, $200? Could you stand $1,200? Asked the lawyer ins- insi- insinuatingly. Insinuatingly. 500 is my limit, I tell you. Guess I'll have to hunt up a cheaper lawyer. The client put on his hat. Out this way, please, said Lawyer Gooch, opening the door that led into the hallway. As gentleman flowed out of the compartment and down the stairs, Lawyer Gooch smiled to himself. Exit, Mr. Jessup, he murmured as he figured the hairy clay turn off tuft of hair at his ear. Fingered the Henry Clay tuft of hair at his ear. And now, for the forsaken husband, he returned to the middle office and assumed a businesslike manner. I understand, he said to client number 3, that you agree to pay $1,000 if I bring about or I'm instrumental in bringing about the return of Mrs. Billings to her home and her abandonment of her infatuated pursuit of the man for whom she has conceived such a violent fancy. Also, that the case is now unreservedly in my hands on that basis. Is that correct? Entirely, said the other eagerly. And I can produce the cash any time at 2 hours' notice. Lawyer Gooch stood up at his full height. His thin figure seemed to expand. His thumbs saw the armholes of his vest. Upon his face was a look of sympathetic benignity that he always wore during such undertakings. Then, sir, he said, in kindly tones, I think I can promise you an early relief from your troubles. I have that much confidence in my powers of argument and persuasion, in the natural impulses of the human heart toward good, and in the strong influence of a husband's unfaltering love. Unfaltering. Mrs. Billings, sir, is here, in that room. The lawyer's long arm pointed to the door. I will call her in at once, and our united pleadings. Lawyer Gooch paused, for client number 3 had leaped from his chair as if propelled by steel spring and clutched his satchel. What the devil? He exclaimed harshly. Do you mean? That woman is there? I thought I shook her off 40 miles back. He ran to the open window, looked out below, and threw one leg over the sill. He ran to the open window, looked out below, and threw one leg over the sill. Stop! Cried Lawyer Gooch in amazement. What would you do? Come, Mr. Billings, and face your erring by innocent wife. Our combined entrance cannot fail to Billings, shouted the now thoughtfully moved Clyde. I'll Billings you old idiot. Turning, he hurled his satchel with fury at the lawyer's head. It struck that astounded peacemaker between the eyes, causing him to stagger backward a pace or two. When Lord Gooch recovered his wits, he saw that his clan had disappeared. Rushing to the window, he leaned out and saw the recreant gathering himself up from the top of a shed upon which he had dropped from the second-story window. Without stopping to collect his hat, he then plunged downward the remaining 10 feet to the alley, up which he flew with prodigious celerity until the surrounding buildings swallowed him up from view. Lord Gooch passed his hand tremblingly across his brow. It was an habitual act with him, severing to clear his thoughts. Perhaps also it now seemed to Sthuvey the spot where a very hard alligator hide satchel had struck. The satchel lay upon the floor, wide open, with its contents spilled about. Mechanically, Lord Gooch stooped to gather up the articles. The first was a collar, and the omniscient eye of the man of law perceived, wonderingly, the initial HKG marked upon it. Then came a comb, a brush, a folded map, and a piece of soap. Lastly, a handful of old business letters addressed, every of them to Henry K. Jessup, Esq. Lord Gooch closed the satchel and set it upon the table. He hesitated for a moment and then put on his hat and walked into the office boy anteroom. Archibald, he said mildly, as he opened the hall door, I'm going around to the Supreme Court rooms. In 5 minutes, you may step into the inner office and inform the lady who is waiting there that here Lord Gooch made use of the vernacular, that there is nothing doing. Alright guys, that was a cool story, right? We're gonna continue with a new one, but tomorrow. Thank you for joining me today, and see you